cut it here. But you can mitigate the risk of him coming back by actually transferring here.
I'm coming a bit from far from Europe, but there is a purpose. The purpose of this meeting is just to give a better understanding of FMA in general,
Right.
and to give the right value. Just we are not stick fighters or swordman, whatever. And I think he's the right person that can give a clarification in the about the subject. So, yeah, let's start to talk.
Okay, sure.
You know,
Yeah.
so what is the way that you think can be promoted today and for a better understanding of the FMA worldwide?
Well, one of the things we want to do is not just to teach only the movement, the function, the style, even the label of the style, but we also teach something about Filipino culture. And it's not just that, but the best arts that we speak. Because the things that make us different, the things that we call upon that help us survive difficult times, the things that we use to guide our behavior, the act of nobility, so to speak. The issue of its blade or stick is a controversial one too, even here, right? But here is something to note. Even in here, there are many schools of Arnis that say that they are pure stick and stick only. There are some.
They admit.
Yeah. And they admit that because they said that, well, this is the legal weapon. No, you know.
Okay, from since the Spaniards vanished.
Yeah. But some of them even also admit that even if the ban already is gone, they still keep it as a stick because of consideration for the law. You know, that's also one other part.
And it's also an art.
It's also an art in itself.
Yes.
And so they keep it alive as such, and they get to be very good with it. And what they sometimes do with that is they also examine what they can do with the stick against the blade.
Which is very interesting.
Which is very interesting because a short blade or a long blade, what can they do with it? And that keeps them on their edge. They have their fighting edge very strong with that. Now, there are some systems that the sword is there, but not everybody remembers how to use the sword.
Can be an issue.
Can be an issue. Because then sometimes the later masters will say, but it was never a sword art. But those who know say it was a sword. And so they are quarreling who is the one who knows the actual art. That's an issue. Okay?
Okay.
It happens. Now, for
The question is, sorry, stop
Yeah.
you. It's possible that we are losing the blade side of the art, actually?
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because all the time, many people have also been examining the blade side of the art again. So even though the stick is popular, but the blade is also becoming well known. And even if sometimes the stick became more popular, that doesn't mean the blade disappears. It's always there.
Okay, so it's still...
It's there. It's still there. No?
Okay,
So
still there.
sometimes it's just like
That's
this.
good to know.
When you come here, okay, it's another one.
Stick or a blade, whatever.
Yes.
So to give a nice overview
Right.
of the Philippines in general, and sometimes even of a specific region of the Philippines that
Yes.
can be so different from another one,
that's
like
correct.
the language it is.
Yeah. That's
So-
how it is. That's how it's supposed to be.
So if we understand well, actually we're still practicing this ancient martial arts. First of all, to preserve this art, because it can be get lost.
Yeah.
And the second also to make and give you value to the noble
the noble side.
Yes. Like an escrimador supposed to, you know, be in life with a good principles or moral value, like a gentleman, like, you know.
That's the way it should be actually. And this is, well, okay, I'm wearing an example. This one on the shirt. The lettering here. Okay. This comes from actually these two words here. They come from the language of my teacher in Silat. Guru Yasanos Yakan.
Which I met him already. I had this honor. Yeah.
And this one here, I think, well, I should have added another L for the spelling. Anyway, maybe in the next version of the t-shirt.
Yes.
But when he was sharing to me his vision of martial arts, what it should be, the techniques he taught, very useful, very practical. But it was, what I really liked about him and why I stayed with him for, it was almost until he died in 2007. He started in 1998 or 97, I think. Yeah, 97, 98. So it's almost 10 years. It was because his vision for the future was bigger than just simply being a fighter.
He was a great man.
He was a great man. And it's like this. This was the concept he shared to me. The word telu means three. Bituon means stars. The word bagani is a word found in many of the indigenous languages, means warrior. Now, the idea of the warrior of the three stars was a rather complex one that Guru Yasser was sharing with me several times in our lessons. In the beginning, he said that one of the things he wanted to do was for the indigenous arts to be well known and respected throughout the archipelago.
Yeah.
That's why the three stars. He also said that when people practice together and learn how to work together, they have less time for fighting one another.
Keep them busy.
They keep them busy. Because we all practice together.
Yes.
Even better when two people of different languages and cultures practice together because they are learning from one another. The three stars become one. And so this was originally meant to be the Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. But it was his idea that through the practice of the arts of his family and the other styles he learned of the Silat, people become better people because one, they train hard to improve themselves physically. Two, they learn to set aside their ego because how else do you practice hard with somebody unless you set aside your ego? And three, they become more open to learning another culture, another language, and sometimes even another religion. You may not have to convert, but at least you respect better.
And better understanding.
And better understanding.
To the final goal.
Yes.
Is peace.
Is peace. And the ultimate paradox then is that what begins as the art of conflict becomes the art of peace. But the way there is not easy. And it has to be tough because that is the only way you can get there is to challenge yourself. And that is the Telubitupon that he was talking about. And that is what the Bagani, what he wanted to be, us to be, was to be all about. And that you carry this with you everywhere you go. You don't have to be a professional soldier. Sometimes you're not even a professional martial arts teacher. Maybe you teach part-time. But you cannot stop being a warrior once you start. You do not stop being a warrior anytime.
Yes, but once again, this word warrior that come from the word war. Finally, in the FMA concepts, it's more a way to achieve peace and not really war. If it's done properly.
If done properly.
That's the goal.
Yes. Exactly.
A nice way. Where the spirit of Filipino martial arts come from? Where the root is?
Alright, we're talking about the fighting spirit. Here's an important word that many Filipinos misunderstand themselves. Actually, they look at it differently. That's where you find a tremendous fighting spirit, a kind of an inner resource that helps Pinoys overcome, face challenges and overcome things. It's two words, we call it bahala na. Okay? The word bahala, a lot of people thought that it comes from the old Tagalog word for bathala, that's God. Okay? And they thought that it means that, well, God is in charge. Well, that's partly true. That's the meaning. But the word bahala also has another meaning, and it's the root word of our word for government and governance, pamahalaan. So, when you say, akong bahala dyan, say, I'll take care of it. So, ikaw bahala dyan, you take care of it. bahala na lang kung anong mangyari. Now, that's the one where you're not sure about the outcome and you say, bahala na lang mangyari because you're saying, okay, let's just see what happens. Right? Many people think that when you say bahala na, you are surrendering, you're giving up everything, you're not going to take charge.
Not much fatalist, you know.
But you know what? That one is only at the far end of a situation when you have absolutely nothing left with which to work. And that's not normal. Because the more normal part is this. When you're not sure of what you do, well, what's going to happen, and you say, bahala na, you say, okay, fine. You cannot predict the outcome, but it's better to be doing something rather than sitting and doing nothing.
Yes.
So you say, bahala na. Now, when you say that bahala na, you're going to take a risk. That's risk-taking.
Yes.
But the risk-taking is shaped by other things, like our sense of community. We talk about kapwa. Because we are kapwa. We are also family.
Yes.
For the sake of my family, I need to take a risk. So, okay, here's a job opportunity. I don't know how far I can take it and whether I can do well, but it's better to take that than to stay home and not
regret
have a
it.
job. And
Yes,
regret it.
yes.
Bahala na. I'm going to go out. Filipino Fighting Arts. Tournament.
Yes.
You and I, we're going to face one another. I have a stick, you have a stick. Going to hit me? Bahala na. Okay, fine. One of us wins, one of us loses. But if we understand what we're doing, at the end, it doesn't matter. The important thing is, you did not back down, but you went in and did your best, everything you were doing.
At least you will not regret.
You will not regret.
Honor.
Yeah, because then you tried. You did your best. It is not even tried. It's not even the word tried kind of means
Yeah.
you did less.
Yeah.
No, you went in there and went all out. Because of the rules of the game, one has to win, one has to lose. That's the rules of the game. But the important thing is you went and you fought. And now that's the fighting spirit that we're talking about, because even across the archipelago, like in the different kinds of martial arts,
Yes.
the arts that we do have that same spirit behind them. You know, like in Arnis, what's our first expression, bahala na? When the stick is raised and you go your first strike, diagonal strike.
Yes.
In Silat, what's the first expression of bahala na? When you cover your center and you strike. You are taking a risk, but at the same time, it is not a blind risk-taking. Notice the first movement in Arnis. See? Here. This first one means I defend myself, I protect myself, and I counter in one movement without separating the first movement. In Silat, the indigenous Philippine Silat, I cover myself with a punch, and I strike you back along the same plane you were striking. I do not take a blind risk. It is calculated. Because I'll do it only if I think I can take you.
Yes.
So it's the same for here.
Yes.
If I cannot, then I do something else. But the thing is, once you start, you don't back down ever. And that is one of the things that, reason why you find so many Pinoys going around the world. The obligation, you combine the sense of obligation, and of course, there's an economic need.
Yeah.
And also the willingness to take risks, because there are things like kapwa that drive us. And that's why you find,
So we can say that the kapwa is the core.
yeah, it's one of the core elements of being Filipino. Recognizing that you and I are one together helps us become better people, helps us to take risks on behalf of one another, helps us to overcome things together. Never alone, but always together.
Very nice. Thank you so
Alright?
much, Parang.
Welcome. Welcome.